Okay, so Trump just deported 200 Venezuelan migrants. This happened a couple of days ago, and we really have to talk about it. So this covers it. The flights carried more than 200 Venezuelan nationals to El Salvador after President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport them. And the law gives the president the broad authority to expel foreign nationals during wartime. We'll go a little bit further into detail about the Alien Enemies Act, but we really have to talk about the deportations of these Venezuelan migrants and why this stuff is so important and the precedent that's being established. So first, a federal judge has already raised questions about the lack of due process for the immigrants being deported under a wartime authority when we're not under wartime. And he actually rebuked the Justice Department for ignoring his order. The federal judge ordered that those flights be turned around, and the Justice Department actually ignored him for the two deportation flights that happened last week. Now, the reason why I feel like this is so important is because, like I said, this is establishing a very dangerous precedent that you can just deport people for arbitrary reasons, which is against what due process is supposed to be. But we'll be doing a video on due process following after this. But when the White House was actually, questioned about the deportation of these migrants, they had this to say about it.
Provide any more details on how authorities determined that each of those men were in fact members of a gang. And if the White House can publish images, photos, videos of those men, why can't the administration just release basic information like their identities and names?
Right.
We are not going to reveal operational details about a counterterrorism operation, but what I can assure you, as I said on Monday, we have the highest degree of confidence in our ICE agents and our Customs and Border Patrol agents who have committed their lives to targeting illegal criminals in our country, particularly foreign terrorists, and they had great evidence and indication. They have the highest degree of professionalism, and they were 100% confident in the individuals that were sent home on these flights and in the president's executive authority to do that.
So when asked about the identity of these migrants and to say, well, you can release video of them being arrested and detained and dehumanized, why can't you release their details like their names? And when asked about that, they're like, we trust our ICE agents. So once again, we end up coming back to the same conclusion that we came back to previously. Just trust me, bro. That's their source. That is their reasoning. They're saying we're not going to release the names of these guys. We're not going to release any information about them, but we will release a video of us arresting them and dehumanizing them and putting them on flights, even against judges' orders, to another country without due process. And you're just supposed to trust us that we trust the agents who made these arrests. I cannot emphasize any further just how dangerous that is. Let me give you an example. This is Fabian Schmidt. Now, Fabian is a legal German national staying here legally in the United States with no criminal history, no criminal record, no history of arrests, and he was detained illegally by ICE at the international airport on March 7th and is still currently being held in a detention center in Rhode Island. This is Jasmine Mooney. She's a business consultant from Vancouver, Canada, who was detained by immigration officials while attempting to cross the border with a job offer and visa paperwork in hand and was held in detention for 2 weeks. This is just a couple of examples of legal citizens. There are multiple U.S.-born citizens who have been detained by ICE over the last couple of months. And this is establishing a super crazy pattern and negative precedent to the point that other countries are noticing. To the point that some European countries, including Canada, are issuing travel advisories to come to the United States. Denmark, UK, Germany, Finland, Canada, they have all revised their guidelines at a time where some travelers from these countries have been detained by immigration officials. Now, I'll point out those other examples because I need you guys to care just as much when the person being detained looks like this and when they look like this. And listen, don't just take my word for it. Here's what Canada's got to say about it.
I am here today to say to Canadians to avoid travel to the United States if at all possible, and to call our government to stand up for our Canadian citizens who are being denied their rights by arbitrary detention.
Now, I raise this point because if he can do it to them, what's to stop him from doing it to you or me? dangerous times that we're living in, but it's important that you know what's going on. I appreciate you for listening. I'll be covering the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, as well as the concept of due process in 2 separate videos that will occur after this one. So if you're curious about these political concepts and the terms that go with them, follow to stay in the loop. Stay educated.